So, it's been a couple of days since I made my last video, but now I want to talk about the book The Sword of Destiny, the second book of the Witcher series. This one is also a collection of short stories like the first book, and if you enjoyed The Last Wish, then the second book won't disappoint you. Our main character, Geralt of Rivia, is again facing many adventures, each difficult in their own way. We meet again people that we were introduced in the first book, like Dandelion, Yennefer, the Queen of Sintra, I think Sintra it was, Ciri's grandmother. But we are also introduced to new characters like Ciri for the first time, who will be important later. Essie Devon, I think that's how you pronounce her name, who was my favorite character in this book, and a couple of others. When you want to read this book, keep in mind that there are no direct links between the short stories. Like, they do make sense, but after each chapter ends and the new short story begins, it's like years in between what happened in the first short story and the next one. For example, in the first short story we learn that Geralt and Yennefer were separated. In the next one they are living back together again. But in the third one they are again separated. So there are time jumps between each story. That's also a thing that I criticized in the first book, but it's actually not a big deal once you are aware of it. But now, after I gave you the example with Geralt and Yennefer, I do want to talk about their relationship because it is complicated. If you still want to read the book without being spoiled, spoiler warning. So in one hand you can feel that they love each other more than they could love anyone else. But in the other hand they fight, they run away from each other and then they meet again after years. Like, it is romantic but also really toxic. It's a completely different kind of tragic love story in my opinion. And as much as I love Geralt and Yennefer, I wouldn't want to date either one of them. It's fun to have Dandelion around, but I just don't understand how he didn't get himself killed already every time Geralt is not around. He is a skilled poet, but he can also be an arrogant sometimes. And you would think that there are many women with broken hearts and sharp knives after his head. Or not even them, but their husbands. Nevertheless, it's good to have them around, especially in dark times, or in a dark world like this in general. I was really happy when Ciri was finally introduced. I of course already knew about her because of the games, but while reading this book I kind of wished that I could have read the books before getting into the video games. Because I believe that the video game would have been an even bigger experience then. It's really cute how young and bratty Ciri was the day she met Geralt, and how Geralt did not treat her like a princess, like she was used to, so she threatened him to get him punished. But I don't know, I felt a strong urge to protect her. And I hated every second with the Dryades. I think that's how you pronounce it. Dryades? I'm not sure. The forest people. Because I feared for her safety once they said they wanted to keep her in the forest and Geralt was ready to leave her there. Nennike was my favorite character in the last book, and in this one it's Essie, or also known as Little Eye. She is just so lovely and cute and nice and interesting, and Geralt is a huge for giving her mixed signals just to then realize that he loves Yennefer more than her. It's really hard to like Geralt sometimes. I fell in love with Little Eye's character, but the ending of the story just completely destroyed me. I don't like tragedies in general and always prefer happy endings. Little Eye's death scene hurt me more than other death scenes usually hurt me. Maybe because she died with a broken heart or the way she died, but yes, it was really painful and bitter. After it happened, I really had to put the book down for 10 minutes and just take a breath. The only positive thing that came with her death was the growing respect that I had for Dandelion. He might not be a brave fighter like Geralt, but Dandelion saved Little Eye's body from being burned with dozens of other corpses after her death, and instead gave her a small funeral with a grave in the woods. Which was still sad in my opinion because she was so nice and deserved far more loved ones around her during the funeral. But I can see how that tragedy fits into a dark world like this. And the grave Dandelion gave her was far better than being burned between many other bodies. I really enjoyed the second book of the Witcher series, and if I had to rank the short stories from my least favorite to my most favorite, I would say that my least favorite was Eternal Flames, where Geralt is in the city of Novigrad with Dandelion, and they get into a conflict with a shape-shifting creature who stole the identity and the face of a halfling merchant. But don't understand me wrong, I really enjoyed this short story, and it is only in the last position because I like the other ones a little bit more, so I did not hate this one. I love the conflict of non-humans having to adjust themselves to a world that was more or less newly dominated by humans, and the question how their future would look like if they couldn't find a new place in that new unjust world. The next story in my list would be Bonds of Reason. I just love Borch the Knight who turned out to be the Golden Dragon, and the two Saracanian warriors named Thea and Vea. I think that's how you pronounce them. I wish that there is more of them in the later books, but I actually doubt it. A Shard of Ice is the next one in my ranking, and that story is basically about Geralt and the sorcerer Istred fighting for Yennefer's love. I don't like Istred, so Team Geralt for the win. The Sword of Destiny, which is also the name of the book, is on the 3rd place in my ranking. It was really fun and created a lot of anxiety for me. I really enjoyed the introduction of Ciri, and I was really surprised when Geralt and her split again at the end of the story, because he is still not sure what to think about the whole Destiny thing. But yeah, my second favorite short story in this book would be Something More. A lot happened in this one, and there were a couple of time jumps in between, which threw me off a little bit. But we got to meet Geralt's mother, and I did not see that coming at all. And yeah, the whole story focused far more on the whole Destiny thing. Geralt learned that the kingdom Ciri lived in was attacked by Nilfgaard, the growing enemy force, and the girl he believed to be his destiny was now supposedly dead. And her unexpected return back to Geralt was proof enough for him to actually say that the whole Destiny thing is real, and that there is more than just coincidences that keeps bringing them back together. It was really emotional to see Geralt and Ciri reunite again and promise each other to stay together this time. But that moment can't top what I felt in the short story A Little Sacrifice. And that is just my favorite chapter in this whole book. Little I destroyed me, and I'm still angry with Geralt for playing with her heart like that. I don't want to get into too many details with each story in case you want to enjoy them yourself, but reading this book was really fun. As far as I understood, this book was the last short story collection and the other ones are just normal novels. So I'm really excited to read the other ones and see if there's a big difference between those books, so from the normal novels and the short story books. And like I said, if you enjoyed the first book, then the second one won't disappoint you, hopefully. It was just really fun to read in my opinion. But yeah, that's all I had to say, and thanks for watching. Ciao.